Hello, this is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. It's a simple stamping card. Just has, only tricky part is I just made a mask with the post-it notes so that the words weren't over the top of that, but you don't need to do that either if you don't want. So let's get started. For paper, I have a piece of white, which is 4 by 5 1/4, a piece of gorgeous grape, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and a card base of thick, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using 2 stamp sets, Versailles for this word that I tend to use quite often, and Forever Blossoms for this gorgeous flower here, and the sentiment, cherish every moment of this day. So it can be a birthday card, a wedding card, whatever you want it to be. Okay, and then I have crumb cake and memento ink. That's the only ink pads. And 3 Stampin'Up markers. I have cherry cobbler, gorgeous grape, and granny apple green. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is bring in the flower stamp set. We're going to bring in the markers. We're going to be stamping with the markers. So I'm going to take the gorgeous grape color and I'm going to color all of the blooms, all the flowers with the gorgeous grape. And you want to color your stamps with the side of your marker so that you don't dull that tip. So see, I'm just rubbing the ink on with the side of my marker, coloring all those flowers. This is a nice way to extend your colors that you can use to stamp with. If you don't have a lot of stamp pads, if you have water-based markers, the Stampin'Up markers are perfect for this. Again, it's a water-based marker. You don't want to use your blends because the blends are designed to be permanent. They're alcohol-based. They wouldn't stamp off. They would, excuse me, I was just checking to see where I needed to color there. They would actually stain the stamp, and they would dry it out because they're alcohol-based. So you want to make sure you're using the water-based markers. Okay, so I just colored all those flowers in with gorgeous grape. I'm going to come in with the granny apple green. I'm going to do the leaves. Make sure I'm on camera here. The stems. And if you get a little bit of the other color on, you're just going to scribble it off on scrap paper until it goes back to your true color again. I actually put a little bit of green on the base of those. Alright, I'm almost done here. Just takes a little bit of time. It's not that urgent to hurry. Okay, I think I got all the green areas. Alright, then I'm going to come in with the cherry cobbler. I'm going to add just a little bit of this into the center of these flowers here. Add just a little bit of darkness, a little bit of dimension. Okay. And I'm going to breathe on it. They call it huffing. Your moisture from your breath is going to reactivate any of that ink that might have dried. So then I'm going to stamp that down onto this side of the paper, centered from top to bottom. Okay, then without re-inking, I'm going to bring in a Post-it note, making note of where the sticky side is. Pick that stamp up, and I'm going to stamp it as close as I can to that sticky side. Okay, then I'm going to bring it in a pair of scissors. I'm going to fussy cut it out. I've already done that for the sake of time, so you don't have to sit there and watch me do it. I only cut out this edge of it because I don't want the to worry about the ink getting on that other side. Okay, so I'm going to cut this, and you'll notice I didn't worry about the stems either. Put this on as a mask, and it's just so that I'm not stamping directly over my flowers. I just stamped. Okay, now I'm going to bring in this stamp from Versailles and the crumb cake ink. There's hair on there. Hopefully it doesn't get picked up. I'm going to ink it up. Make sure my writing's going the right side up. And then I'm going to stamp this over on this side. This little part here kind of looks like it nests right inside there, so that's what I'm going to do with it. Perfect. Okay, let's take this mask off. And then I'm going to come in with the sentiment. I'm going to stamp it down here on the bottom with the memento ink. Make sure it gets inked up well. Make sure it's right side up. Stamp it down here at the bottom. Actually, right there. I'm holding it down so that ink can transfer, especially since it's black. I want to make sure it gets nice and dark. Perfect. That lid back on that ink. Okay, now we can assemble our card. Now you can use snail, or you can use Otombo, which is what I'm going to use. Glue this piece that we just stamped to the gorgeous grape piece, and this is just going to have a tiny little border around it. It's 1/4 of an inch larger, so it's going to have an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around the edge. Wiggle it till it gets where you want it. And then we're going to glue that to the front of our card. Again, it's going to have that 1/8 of an inch border, just a tiny bit smaller than the card base itself. That gives you a little bit of dimension, even though it's all flat. And there you go, that's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you so much for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.